Bonjour, I'm Gill Rapley, and in this, the fifth and last video in the series on baby-led weaning, I want to look at some of the benefits of this approach. Many parents choose baby-led weaning from the beginning because they've read about it or heard about it from other people. Others come to it having previously tried spoon feeding, either with this baby or with a previous baby, and most say they would never go back to spoon feeding, because baby-led weaning offers their babies so many advantages. Baby-led weaning allows babies to get to know food, to begin to recognize foods, to be able to anticipate the taste and texture and eating experience that a food offers simply by the sight of it, because the food looks as it should. It's not been changed into a puree that looks like other foods. So they can recognize and build up a database of foods. And the more experience they have with different foods, the wider this database is, and the more foods they will enjoy. We know that babies who follow baby-led weaning are likely to have a greater variety in their diet by the time they're 7 months, and also when they're toddlers, and that they will be inclined to eat less sweet, sugary foods. Probably simply because they haven't been offered them very much, but also because they haven't been taught that those foods are special. One of the pitfalls we fall into when feeding babies is to allow an emotional element to eating. We offer food as a reward for good behavior or as a reward for eating another food, and this gives the food a dimension that it shouldn't have. Babies eat because they're hungry, and they eat because their appetite tells them which foods they need, and they stop when they're ready. Coercing babies with food or offering food for the wrong reasons distorts that relationship that they're developing. Many of us as adults eat because we want comfort, or we eat because the food is there, or in order to empty our plate, instead of following what our body is telling us. We know that babies who follow baby-led weaning also demonstrate greater enjoyment of eating and greater enjoyment of meal times. And the research tells us that there's no difference in the amount of their energy intake, in their levels of iron, in their blood, their growth, or their risk of choking. In fact, there are some signs that baby-led weaning may actually help babies to avoid choking by enabling them to practice chewing from the very beginning on safe foods and develop the sort of oral skills that will enable them to eat the most safely. It's possible too that the exercise of natural appetite control helps children later on to avoid overeating and may help to reduce the risk of obesity. This has yet to be proved by research, but the signs are there that babies who are in charge of their own eating are more aware of their fullness or satiety than babies who have their feeding controlled by someone else. When you're spoon feeding, it's all too easy to encourage the baby to take an extra spoonful or two. We say, one more for grandma, one for daddy, one for mummy, to encourage babies to finish the amount of food we think they should eat. This doesn't happen with baby-led weaning, when the baby is the one who decides, and it seems a much healthier way forward. There's also a suggestion that baby-led weaning may actually help to prevent, or at least lead to the early detection of allergies. Many babies who later turn out to be allergic to food, in fact, have always tended to refuse that food, according to their parents' accounts. So they seem to know early on which foods are safe for them to eat and which not. Again, it will be useful when we get more research on this. There's also the whole business of building a healthy relationship with food, which may have an impact later on eating disorders such as bulimia or anorexia. Again, research is needed, but the idea that babies make their own relationship with food and eat for the right reasons are very powerful. There's also a suggestion that chewing from early on helps the jaw to develop, and the mouth to develop a better shape. This may have implications for speech and for dental development, avoiding perhaps malocclusion and the need for dental correction. It's only one piece in the jigsaw, but baby-led weaning seems to have many, many advantages for babies that have yet to be defined. Most of all, though, is the avoidance of those mealtime battles that so many parents imagine are inevitable. They aren't. Babies want to eat, and they can enjoy eating, as long as they're not pressured and the mealtime isn't made miserable. Baby-led weaning is the way to enjoyable mealtimes and a good relationship with food.